What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Anfernee, and in this video I want to talk about how to boost your savings rate as a teenager. I think some people may even look at the title of this video and not even know or fully understand what a savings rate is. So that's why, as always, I want to cater this video towards teenagers and young adults. Try to explain why knowing your savings rate is so important, and also how to take the steps necessary to improve it to make sure that you're on the most efficient path to financial freedom if you're choosing to go that route that you possibly can be. If you think you'll go on to find any kind of value in this video, don't be afraid to tap that like button for your boy, as it really does help the channel out and allows these videos to get to a little bit of a larger audience. And before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, let me do a quick brief book definition of what savings rate really is. So your savings rate, as defined by a college textbook, would be the measurement of the amount of money expressed as a percentage or ratio that a person deducts from their disposable income to set aside for a nest egg or for retirement in the future. The important point to take note of here is that it is of your disposable income. It is not necessarily of your gross income. And for this textbook definition, it means that if you have money tied up in rent or a mortgage or a lot of other bills that you have, that doesn't necessarily contribute to your savings rate. Now, my sort of definition of what your savings rate is the total amount of money that you set aside divided by your gross income, because typically, even though you have some fixed expenses, there are ways to negotiate that in many cases, whether it is moving to a place with cheaper rent or buying groceries for a cheaper amount. So for myself personally, I like to take the gross income number and then divide my overall deductions by that number in order to find my accurate savings rate. So now that we have a brief understanding of what a savings rate is, let's get a little bit more into the details of what exactly goes into calculating that discretionary income number. So basically, some of the main factors that go into contributing to your savings rate would fall into four main categories. The first of those categories is something I talk about on this channel a lot, and that is investment contributions. Now, investment contributions count towards your savings rate because that is money that is not allocated towards bills. That is money that you don't necessarily need to survive, and since you have that surplus to invest, it is considered as contributing to your savings rate, even if it is not going directly into a savings account. Now, investment contributions can be broken down into multiple categories, including 401k contributions and even real estate investment savings, or obviously investments in the stock market. Now, the reason why you would include 401k contributions in your savings rate is because when you're calculating your savings rate, you're calculating it based on your gross income, and considering that your 401k contributions come out of your gross income, it would make sense that it would then calculate towards your savings rate. Now, the second pillar that goes into calculating your savings rate, and this one may be the most obvious, but that is savings account contributions. Now, this one doesn't need much of an explanation, but any money that you consistently put into a savings account and keep into a savings account should be calculated towards your savings rate on an annual basis. Now, if you put $100 in a savings account, but 3 months later you spend it on something else, then it's not necessarily counted towards your savings rate if you're calculated on a 12-month basis. Typically, your savings rate is calculated annually, which means that you would have to keep that money in your savings accounts for at least 12 months for it to have a beneficial contributions to your overall savings rate. The next somewhat secret pillar to calculating your savings rate would be loan paydowns. Now, loan paydowns factor into your savings rate because as you pay down the principal balance on that loan, you are essentially saving yourself money in debt and interest over the course of that loan. So as you pay down more principal, you will owe less interest, and therefore you will be saving more money in your bill payments as you continue to draw down on that debt. Now, you do have to take a little bit more of a backdoor approach in order to calculate this towards your savings rate, and one of the easiest ways to do this that I'll talk about a little bit later in this video is that simply taking the balance that you have currently on your loan and subtracting that balance from the balance that it was 12 months from today, and then you'll see how much principal you paid down in the last 12 months, therefore seeing how much money you effectively saved in that same 12-month period. And then the last factor that sort of piggybacks into your savings rate would be defactoring gains and losses from your overall net worth. Now, net worth and savings rate are two different things because as you save and invest money, your investment decisions can either go up or go down in value. But if you're trying to get an accurate number of your savings rate, you don't want to factor in these gains and losses into your savings rate. For example, if you made $1,000 a year and you save $100 of that $1,000 annually, and then you use that $100 savings to invest in some kind of extraordinary Bitcoin project that went up to $1 million, your accurate savings rate wouldn't be $1 million divided by the $1,000 you made. Your accurate savings rate will subtract the gains, and it would be the $100 that you initially saved divided by your annual income of $1,000. So the fourth pillar would essentially add back in any losses to your savings rate or subtract any gains that you benefited from in your overall net worth to get an accurate picture of what your savings rate really is. But now let's use my real life numbers as an example for some savings rate calculations. So because I work a W-2 job and and I make money through side hustles and other business ventures, my income tends to fluctuate greatly from month to month. And if I use the next month of July, for example, total from W-2 income and business venture combined with my wife's income, I'm expecting to make about $12,600 in the month of July. And then from that, after budgeting and subtracting all of my expenses from that, I didn't estimate that I'll save or invest about $8,000 of that $12,500. Now for me, that $12,500 in the month of July is a little bit of gross income and a little bit of net income. However, I treat my tax situation a little bit more differently, and if you want to hear more about that, I'll cover that in a video of its own. So a little bit of simple math here. If we divide $8,000 divided by $12,500, we can see that for the month of July, I have about a 64% savings rate, and typically depending on where my income is, I like to keep my savings rate between 60 and 70%. And that same calculation can be made whether your income is $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month. Just add up how much you save or invest and then subtract your gross income for that month, or in my case, I use net income to find your savings rate ratio. So then comes the question of what is a good savings rate? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Is it 50%? I've made videos in the past talked about a 70% savings rate. So what is a number that you should realistically shoot for that will put you on the best path to financial freedom as possible? And honestly, if I was giving my advice to you, I would say to make your savings rate whatever you are comfortable with. Whatever percentage you can have that be, whether it's 5%, 10%, or 20%, that you don't have to greatly diminish your quality of life. Have that be your savings rate so you don't have to put an extraordinary effort to meet that every single month or every single year. The goal here is to increase your savings rate as much as possible, but not to make it to the point where you don't feel excited to do it. If you're trying to save so much money that you're living in a cardboard box, then your quality of life may not be all that great, and therefore you will be discouraged to actually continue onto this path for financial freedom. But as we look back at what the experts say your savings rate should be, most experts say your savings rate should be anywhere between 15 and 20%. Once you combine your savings contributions, your retirement account contributions, and any other discretionary income that you plan on putting back in a nest egg for someday in the future. So for example, if you made $40,000 a year, experts say that you should be putting $8,000 of your gross income back in some form of savings or investment. But now let me inform you of a little shortcut if you want this shortcut, so you don't have to do all the math of budgeting and then find out all the intricacies of how much you spend or save in order to find out your savings rate. So a little shortcut in order to find out your savings rate is to simply calculate your net worth today versus how much it was 12 months ago. And I just posted a video yesterday on how to actually go about calculating your net worth, but basically you add up all of the money that you have and subtract all of the debt that you have. So if you look at your bank statements from 12 months ago, you can then go and add up all of the cash that you had and look at your debt statements from a year ago as well and add up those debts. And once you get the two numbers from today and a year ago, if you subtract those two numbers from each other and divide the income that you made in that year, you would then get a rough estimate of what your saving rate is. But now let's take a quick moment and actually talk about how you can take steps to improve your savings rate so that you can get it as efficient as feels comfortable for you. And some of the methods that I used to increase my savings rate were just as simple as creating a budget. A few years ago back in college, I used to carry a green notebook around with me everywhere I went. And in that green notebook, I used to write down all of my incomes for that month and then all of my expenses and try to find ways to be as efficient with those expenses so that I had as much income to invest or save as physically possible. I probably carried that green notebook around for a year before moving on to Microsoft Excel and now moving on to Google Sheets. But the reason why I say that is that you don't have to make a lot of income to start budgeting and to start being efficient with your finances. So just by knowing what you're spending your money on will give you a very clear view on how to improve that, and you'll start to understand where you're spending money on that doesn't really provide a lot of value to your life. Another way that you can increase your savings rate is simply by earning more money. If you earn more money while still spending the same amount, your savings rate will increase as a byproduct of those extra earnings. And I've talked about a lot of ways that you can earn extra money through side hustles or through businesses that you can start, and just finding an area that you are passionate about and continuing to be consistent in that area is one of the best ways to build a brand, build loyalty, and start earning money aside from your W-2 income. This also insulates you a little bit from inflation because you're earning your own money. This insulates you a little bit more from the economy as well because you don't have to rely on your W-2 income for all of your expenses. And overall, I believe that it will give you a better quality of life because you're actually pursuing things that you are passionate about, and your sole happiness doesn't rely on how much money you make from your W-2 job. And the last way that you can increase your savings rate that I talked about earlier in this video is paying down loans. So as you pay down loans with high interest rates or with high monthly payments, as you pay those off, once you don't have to make that monthly payment anymore, instead of using that extra money to acquire more loans, you can use that extra money to increase your savings rate. And this is one of the hidden secrets to increasing your savings rate, because we are such a debt-filled society that if you choose to get rid of some of that debt, your financial freedom future will be a lot more attainable if someone was to settle down a little bit on that high consumer lifestyle. But with all that being said, I really hope you did find some kind of value in this video. If you did, don't forget to drop a like on this video for your boy. And also, as a little bit of a treat, go down to the link in the description below and sign up to the public app, where if you just sign up and create an account, you will get 1 free stock valued anywhere from $300 to $300. That's a great way to make some free money just for signing up and opening an account. And I love to put you guys onto some free game. However, I hope you did find some kind of value in this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.